Gut stasis is not a hairball. An accumulation of material, which is food and a bit of fur, in the stomach results from gut stasis, but rarely causes gut stasis. Hey guys, if you follow us on Instagram, you may remember that a couple weeks ago, Banh Mi had a little episode of gut stasis. So today I want to tell you a little bit about that experience. So if your bunny hasn't had that before, it can give you an idea of what you need to look out for, what you need to do, and what to expect. So it happened on a Sunday night. It was actually Easter Sunday, and me and my partner went out to a wedding. So we left home at around 6 p.m. and just before we left, I gave them a big pile of hay and filled up their water bowl. So while we were out at the wedding, I checked the little bunny cam that we have, and something that was a little strange to me was that Banh Mi wasn't really around. I saw Turbo just loafing around different parts of the living room, but Banh Mi would usually be in the litter box eating or loafing on the rug with Turbo, but she was nowhere in sight except for this one moment where I saw her sitting in front of the water bowl. I didn't see whether she ate or drank anything, but I assumed that she did because that's what she usually does. So we got home at around 11:30, and you'll see the moment where I opened the door because you see Turbo's little ear just pop up. It's really cute. And because it was quite late, I just went straight for the pantry and got them some hay to feed because I usually feed them before I go to bed. And it was weird that Banh Mi didn't come running out like she usually does. As soon as I open the pantry, she's usually starts running around the dining area. She'll jump into the litter box all excited. And she didn't do that. So I went to go find her, and she was actually in the bathroom, which she normally isn't when we're not home. And she was just sitting in the corner. So I thought, okay, this doesn't look good. And I went out to get some pellets, offered them to her. She wasn't interested. I got banana, put it right in front of her. She wasn't interested. I was like, okay, something is definitely wrong because Banh Mi never turns down food. So I started to feel her stomach, and I could feel it was pretty firm. A rabbit's tummy should usually be pretty soft and doughy feeling. And then I touched her ears and they were quite cold. So I was like, okay, I need to call a vet. I think Banh Mi's in gut stasis. So I called the vet and we decided that we needed to bring Banh Mi in. And I did ask about bringing in Turbo as well, because when you've got a bonded pair of rabbits, you really should always take them to the vet together, because if you don't and then you bring the other one home, there's a chance the bond could break and then you have to rebond them. But they said that Banh Mi is going to need to stay overnight in an incubator by herself because they're going to leave her with food, and if any of the food gets eaten, they want to make sure it's eaten by her and not Turbo. So even if we did bring him to stay, they would have to be kept separate. We didn't have much time because I just wanted to get her to the vet. So in that moment, I just decided, let's just keep Turbo at home because it's not going to be worth bringing him with her to the vet, and then we have to bring him home by himself, and he gets quite stressed in car rides anyway. So we decided to just take Banh Mi. We get to the vet and we wait about 10 minutes, then they take Banh Mi into the back so that they can assess her, and then probably another 10-20 minutes later they call us in to talk about the treatment plans. So what they told me is that while you can try to force feed them and give them gut motility medication to get everything moving again, there is a risk that if the stasis is caused by a blockage, that's actually really dangerous, because if you're force feeding a rabbit that has a blockage, it could cause a rupture. So they were asking if they could do x-rays to see if there is a blockage, and if there is, they may need to do surgery to actually get it removed. They gave us a list of all the costs, and holy moly, it was so expensive. It was like $1,400, but I already knew, like, as a pet owner, this is just part of having a pet, that when things like this happen, you just need to cough up the money. And I know not everyone can do that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the financials of this at the end of this video, but I just want to proceed with the rest of the story. So we consented to everything. We told them, yes, do the x-rays, do whatever you need to do. We just wanted her to be happy and healthy again. They did let us see her before we left. So we saw her in the little incubator, and she had a little bit of hay with her. And if you see in the video, there's like some air blowing on her. That's the warm air to try to get her temperature back up again. So we went home, slept in the living room because we wanted to be near Turbo. He seemed fine actually. And then the next morning they called us to say that they did the x-rays and there was no blockage. So they gave her the motility medication to get her gut moving again, and the painkillers, and she was starting to eat the hay on her own. So she was doing really well. They just wanted to keep her for a little while longer so they could make sure that she was pooping. And then they called me about 5 minutes later to say that she had in fact started pooping and they weren't expecting it to happen so quickly. So she was ready to be picked up. But before we picked her up, I set up a little pen for her at home, like a little recovery area, because I knew that since the rabbits were separated, there was a chance that Turbo was going to be aggressive to her when she came home, because she was going to smell different, she was going to smell like a vet. And the separation is sometimes, even just a couple hours is enough to break a bond between rabbits. So we had the pen set up and then we went to go pick her up. Then we brought her home and I was putting bits of hay around the edges of the pen because I was trying to get the rabbits eating together again and just to see how they would react. So Turbo wasn't too bad. He wasn't as bad as the first time he met Banh Mi and he was just trying to go for it. But there were a few times where he kind of lunged at the pen, so I knew I was going to have to do the rebonding work. I will talk about how I rebonded them in the next video, but I just want to keep this one focused on the actual gut stasis and how we dealt with it. So we had her home and it was Easter Monday. We had to cancel our plans for the rest of the day, which was a shame because I was really excited to visit my family that I hadn't seen in a long time. But it was really important to actually stay home and monitor her closely to make sure that she was still eating and pooping. And I also had to give her medication. So I've got the list of them here. I thought there was 3, but maybe there was just 2. So there was meloxicam, which is I think this is the painkiller, and I had to give her this once a day for 3 days. And then the second one was cisapride, which is the gut motility medication, and I had to give her this 3 times a day for 2 days. I was having to give Banh Mi her medicine with the syringes, and she was not the easiest. I know some rabbits take it like a champ and you can actually just hold it in front of them and they'll lick the medicine out of the syringe. It's a lot easier said than done, but all you need to do is just lift up their cheek and then behind their front teeth you'll see a little gap on the side, and you want to point the tip of the syringe into that gap towards the back of their mouth and then slowly start pushing the medicine in. It's important to do it slowly when there's a lot of medicine because not all rabbits will start eating it straight away. So if you push it all in at once, it can just end up overflowing everywhere and then you end up wasting the medicine. So you can do it bit by bit if you need to. Now I want to talk a little bit about the cause of Banh Mi's gut stasis because it's actually still a little bit of a mystery to me. And the vet gave me this little fact sheet on it, which I think is really helpful because there's a lot of misconceptions on how gut stasis happens. So it says that gut stasis is a common condition that occurs in pet rabbits. It refers to the slowing down or stopping of the gastrointestinal tract motility. Gut stasis is different to gut obstruction. In cases of gut obstruction, there is a blockage of the intestinal tract. If your rabbit rapidly stops eating and stops passing feces, has an enlarged and painful abdomen, becomes cold, depressed, and non-responsive, this is an emergency and you need to get to the vet straight away. Gut stasis is not a hairball. An accumulation of material, which is food and a bit of fur, in the stomach results from gut stasis, but rarely causes gut stasis. A healthy rabbit eats and defecates all the time. Their intestinal tract normally has a lot of ingesta present. If the gastrointestinal tract slows down, the rabbit can become dehydrated and the decreased motility of the gut can cause the accumulated food and fur in the stomach and the gut to dehydrate, giving the impression of a fur ball. Essentially what they're saying is that gut stasis is a gradual slowdown of the gut. So you'll see a decrease in fecal production, so the poops might start getting smaller and smaller, or there'll be less of them. But a gut obstruction is different, and in that instance there's an actual blockage and the decrease in eating and fecal production happens pretty suddenly. I know many people think that gut obstructions are caused by fur, like if your rabbit is molting and they're ingesting a lot of fur, then it causes a hairball and blocks up the stomach. But it looks like what they're saying here is that the hairball is not actually the cause itself, but it results from the gut stasis. So if the rabbit's gut starts slowing down, then all the fur that's in their stomach can start to accumulate, and because the rabbit is dehydrated, it kind of dries out, and then eventually when the rabbit starts pooping again because they've been treated, that poopy hairball comes out and they'll think, oh, that must have been what caused it. But according to this, that is more of a symptom rather than the cause. So in Banh Mi's case, it's really hard to know what actually happened because the whole day she was very active, she was doing zoomies and eating a lot. And then suddenly I come home at night and she's not eating at all and she's in pain. So her symptoms sounded a lot like gut obstruction, but when they did the x-rays, there was no blockage, there was no obstruction. So it's hard to know what actually happened. I called up the vet a few days later to see if they could help me understand why this happened to Banh Mi and whether it was stasis or an obstruction. But because the team that saw Banh Mi, they were more of a critical care emergency team. They're not really there to figure out the cause of it or what happened. They're just there to treat the rabbit and make sure that they get better. So the rabbit vet I spoke to, she really only had the notes that the emergency team took that night, and she suggested that it may have been I need to find the name of it. One sec, sorry. I was talking to Banh Mi's original foster carer about this, and I'm just going to read out the message that I said to her. So the vet says it may have been a resolving gut obstruction. She says that sometimes they might eat a poop that's already full of hair, or it might just be some food that gets stuck and then it moves and then it gets stuck again and then it moves and it gets stuck again. So it might have initially been an obstruction, but the process of getting her into the carrier, taking her to the vet, being assessed, and when they press her tummy, those things might have been enough to get it moving again, so that when they did the x-ray, they didn't see any obstruction. So that is one potential possibility for what happened with Banh Mi. Now, as for the money side of things, I know that vet bills can be really expensive and not everyone has the means to just cough up that kind of money up front. I would say that your best option is really to just try to put a little bit of money aside each week or each month to have as an emergency fund, because pet insurance for rabbits isn't really a thing, at least not here in Australia. Most insurers don't cover rabbits, and I've heard of one that does, but they don't cover most of the common things that you would actually want to be covered. And if your rabbit has previously had gut stasis, it becomes a pre-existing condition and they won't cover it in the future. So I think it may not be worth it, but feel free to do your own research on that and comment down below if you've found a really good rabbit insurance plan. But for me, I prefer to just keep some money aside and then just use it when I need to. I want to wrap up this video with what I've learned from this experience. Make sure that you have a rabbit emergency vet handy, because both times that my rabbits have had issues, it's always been after hours, and rabbit emergency vets are very rare. So do your research while you can, so that hopefully it doesn't happen, but if it does happen, you will be prepared and know where to go. The last thing is that this just kind of reaffirms the whole thing of why I think rabbits really should live indoors, so that you can have a close bond with your rabbit, and it makes it a lot easier to pick up on things like this. I think that while this was a situation I would have preferred that it didn't happen, I was glad that I was able to pick it up as soon as I got home, and I could get Banh Mi to the vet within I was only home for maybe 5-10 minutes and we were already taking Banh Mi to the vet. So that's why it's really important to have a very close bond with your rabbits. And yeah, I need to end this video because my camera is about to die. I hope you guys have found this video helpful and learned something. If you have any other questions about the experience I just shared, then leave them down below and I will speak to you in the next video. Bye.